after, listening to Bigger Pocket stuff for a while and kind of just doing, passive like research and saying like, okay, eventually I want to do something in real estate. We bought this rental, but I still didn't really know what I was doing. I call it dumb luck. I mean, I got the cool low interest rate and got a good purchase price on it, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I need to do something so that I can, make some kind of progress. But what happened was, after seeing like these opportunities come and pass me by repeatedly, coming in contact with people who are like, yeah, we're selling, and talking to real estate agents who are like, selling these deals that were going to go to a cash buyer, and just like interacting with people constantly in my business that, could be converted into a real estate opportunity. I was like, I'm letting this stuff go by because I don't know what to do when these opportunities come to me, and I need to do something about that. So I was like, I need to start educating myself, and I need to start putting myself out there and getting in front of people that can help me, that people that can tell me what to do, show me the way, because I know that this is a solid opportunity.
Welcome back to the Pursuit of Property podcast. I am sitting here today with my co-host Cade.
Yes, sir.
And a good friend of ours, Jacob Espinoza, the owner of Top Junk Removal Premium Junk Service. Did I say it right?
You were close. I like it. We could change it up. Yeah, Top Junk Premium Junk Removal right here, Fresno, California.
Dude, we met not long ago. I looked back on the calendar. You and I had texted a little bit, but the first time we met in person, we went to Wasabi. We had lunch. It was the middle of September. We're now recording this at the end of November. We've already done a deal together. We're looking at other deals. How the hell did you and I even meet? Share that story first.
Yeah. So how did we meet? Well, obviously, I was like in a position where I was like, okay, I have an interest in real estate. I want to get a deal done. I have this business that puts me in a really unique position where we're coming in contact with people who are in all types of situations. But the most unique one is when, they have a distressed property, they're calling us first to make some kind of progress on getting it cleaned out. And I'm like, okay, that is an opportunity for a real estate investor. I want to be a real estate investor. I have a unique position. Who can I reach out to help me make some progress so that I can start to take steps towards that? And Jason was all over Instagram when I'm looking for local people.
Yeah.
And so I just started DMing him. I was like, yo, what can I do to like get some traction here? And, so we ended up having a phone call after I told him. I said, hey, I'm going to a property and this person told me on the phone that they want to sell it. So what can I tell them to like, see what we can do? And so we jumped on like a 15-minute phone call, and he just ran through everything like I should ask and the information I should gather, the videos and the pictures that I should take. And right before I went to the property, we had that call. I went and I just did everything he told me to do. And, at the end of the day, that specific property didn't end up working out, but it opened my eyes to like, okay, this is the process that I need to go through when these opportunities come, to me. So after that, I think we went through maybe 5-6 different opportunities of similar nature. And, he said, hey, I want to connect you with Scott. He's the guy who's going to, help us get this thing to the finish line. So when you have property information, here's his number, just to start talking to him, and, we'll see where it goes. So that's how we got connected. And then we just literally started going back and forth over, every single property I saw an opportunity with. And then, pretty much we've been running with that ever since.
I only asked you to bring this story up, dude, because not everybody is comfortable to like chase their dream like that. And the fact that you made that first call, like you followed somebody on Instagram, then you reached out on DM, then you called, dude, like that's a perfect progression into taking steps and action, actually getting from, I don't know, when did that first conversation with Jason happen? That couldn't have been 6 months ago, could it?
No, that was probably like maybe a month or two before we connected.
So within 4 months, you got paid on your first assignment contract.
That's correct.
That's a very impressive timeline.
Well, dude, I want to take a deep dive into the first deal and the first payday for you. So obviously with...
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
You need to hear this guy's story before you understand the most recent deal, because this dude's story is crazy.
Break it down for us.
Because Cade doesn't know, and I only know little bits here and there, but I've heard it a couple times. Tell Cade how you ended up getting into junk removal that got you into real estate that got you here.
Okay, cool. So
Didn't mean to cut you off. By the way.
You're good.
yeah, so we're going to go all the way back to probably late 2016. I am now changing majors. I went to Fresno State. That's how I ended up back here again. But I started school at Fresno State. I was going to business school. I did about 2.5, 3 years of that, and I decided I wanted to change my major. So my background was working in, sales for tires and automotive repair. And I got kind of tired of the industry and I wanted to change. So I said, okay, what can I do? What kind of secure blue collar trade can I get into that's going to give me a solid income, that's going to give me a secure future that I can go to school for and, make good money doing it. So I landed on nursing school. So I left that complete, industry, and I got a job working as a tech, like an assistant at Stanford in the Bay Area. And I worked in that job while I was going through all my prerequisites to go back to school for nursing. In the meantime, I was like, I have this pickup truck. I live in the Bay Area and I really want to make some extra money. How can I do that? I started researching online, like what can I do with my pickup truck to make extra money? I found junk removal and I had no idea what it was, but I was like, oh, like people will pay you to take stuff to the dump for them because they can't do it otherwise, or it's a big hassle. In the Bay Area, a lot of people are commuters, and so they don't drive pickup trucks quite as often as, other areas. So I had one and I was like, okay, I'm going to use this to my advantage. So started posting ads on Craigslist, Nextdoor, a couple of little lead sources there. And I started making progress. So I started making extra money nights and weekends. I mean, I was doing junk removal jobs at 11 o'clock at night after work and started to actually see progress there. So I was like, oh, this is cool. Started making extra money. I finally got accepted to nursing school. That was in Santa Cruz. So I was going to have to commute from San Jose to Santa Cruz for my nursing program. So I actually left my full-time job and I leaned in completely to junk removal as my side hustle. And it became kind of like a full-time thing for me while I was going to school full-time. So I put myself through nursing school with no debt and I just paid for it all with money from junk removal.
That's a badass accomplishment.
Oh yeah, dude.
Fucking awesome,
That's
dude.
sick.
Yeah, student loans suck. Anybody listening, don't borrow money if you can't.
Yeah.
It sucks. So I borrowed money for my business degree that I didn't finish. So I still have to pay that off.
That's okay. But you got through nursing school.
I got through nursing
because
school
you were
with no
doing all
debt.
this trash removal.
Yeah. Okay. So after graduating from nursing school, I was kind of ready to leave junk removal in the past. I was like, I got my degree. I'm going to go into this industry. I'm going to make good money. I don't need to do junk removal anymore. And, we're going to settle down. So that was at the beginning of 2020, which we all remember as the beginning of COVID. So COVID and being a brand new nurse, I got thrown into the fire immediately. What we ended up doing was we wanted to buy our primary house for the first time. And I said, Fresno, Clovis area, that's where I want to go. We're going to be able to have that kind of little white picket fence life. And it's not going to happen in the Bay Area for a really long time. So let's go over there. Let's buy our primary house. So at the summer of 2020, we came in and we bought our house here. I got my first job at CRMC downtown at the trauma center and got thrown into the fire as a brand new nurse in the trenches of COVID when it was at its worst. So I grinded that out for about a year. And then I was able to get a travel nursing contract, which paid like 6 times better than what I was making hourly there. So I went back to the Bay Area for one contract that lasted 8 weeks. And I took the entire amount of money that I made there and I used that to start Top Junk here in Fresno. And the reason I decided to completely leave nursing was a given that I was completely burned out. COVID completely burned me out. I recognized that I was just essentially a cog in this healthcare machine. And I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. I wanted to do something for myself. My wife could see that I was just bringing it home with me every day. I was getting worn out and I was just like, I don't really want to do this anymore. She's like, I don't want you to do this anymore. And she was like, go back into junk removal. Let's do it for real this time. And let's just go out on our own. And I was like, I'm down. Let's do it. So started the company at the beginning of 22. So we actually got our first truck on the road April of 22.
And we're sitting here in, let's just call it December of 23. And over these last 2 years, what's been your primary focus with all the junk removal?
So primary focus in junk removal up until now has been building our brand around town, getting people to know who we are, and really just trying to create like the professional image and be like the most premium provider in town, because junk removal has a low barrier to entry. Anyone can slap a magnet on the side of their truck and say they're a junk removal business, but we're trying to do things a little bit differently at a higher level and just give people like a white glove service to differentiate ourselves from everybody else that just slings junk in the back of the truck and hauls it to the dump. So that's what we've been focusing on. However, in the back of my head, also back in 2016, I found bigger pockets, and I was like, real estate investing is something I want to do in the future, but I didn't have any concrete plan in place. So I was like, I'm interested in real estate. We bought our primary deal. We bought our primary house. And then the following year, I was like, everybody's talking about these interest rates being super low, and they've never been this low before. And I had never been paying attention to that kind of stuff prior. And I was like, I have some extra money, you know, things are going okay. Like, I should probably try to buy another house because the interest rates are so low. So, in 21, before I had even started the business, we bought a second house as a rental, and we were able to, you know, negotiate the price down a little bit, and we got a really good interest rate. So I'm still holding that now too. So that was kind of like our first little, you know, toe in the water for real estate.
And that's also, is that in Fresno or Clovis, and using it as a long-term rental?
Yeah. So it's a long-term.
What street is it?
It's on, it's just south of Shaw on Gettysburg.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like Shaw and Marks.
Oh, cool. And you bought that while you had your job as a nurse?
Yeah. So I used my W-2 to qualify for the loan.
Dude, you're so much smarter than I was when I first found out about real estate. Like the fact that you had the know-it-all to actually say, you know what, there's an opportunity to leverage high W-2 earnings to buy a property. I mean, I didn't buy anything in town when the interest rates were super low. And I was in the industry. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, big kudos to you for taking action on it.
Yeah.
So like you're doing all the junk stuff. What was the catalyst to actually pull the trigger and start making decisions to move towards real estate stuff while doing junk removal?
Well, because I already had that seed plan in my head after, you know, listening to Bigger Pocket stuff for a while and kind of just doing, you know, passive like research and saying like, okay, eventually I want to do something in real estate. We bought this rental, but I still didn't really know what I was doing. I call it dumb luck. I mean, I got the cool low interest rate and got a good purchase price on it, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I need to do something so that I can, you know, make some kind of progress. But what happened was, after seeing like these opportunities come and pass me by repeatedly, you know, coming in contact with people who are like, yeah, we're selling, and talking to real estate agents who are like, you know, selling these deals that were going to go to a cash buyer, and just like interacting with people constantly in my business that, you know, could be converted into a real estate opportunity. I was like, I'm letting this stuff go by because I don't know what to do when these opportunities come to me, and I need to do something about that. So I was like, I need to start educating myself, and I need to start putting myself out there and getting in front of people that can help me, that people that can tell me what to do, show me the way, because I know that this is a solid opportunity. So that's kind of how I started like looking for someone to help like guide me in these first steps of like converting these leads. So that's when I, you know, started looking at it. That's when I found Jason. And I didn't mention it earlier, but I actually reached out to Jason many times in DM without a response before we actually got connected for sure. So it took me like being persistent, being like, yo, let me help you. I was offering to like trash out properties for free. I was like, let me just get into this, you know, world of yours so that I can start to make some progress.
That is the key part right there that I think is an absolutely important lesson for everybody listening, because we always talking about providing value, always talking about win-wins. That is literally putting in practice what we preach on this podcast so often, especially for new people trying to get started, trying to just at least get some sort of guidance. Like your value add was, hey, I've got this top junk removal business. Let me trash out some properties for you. Let me do something. Just provide me with some sort of guidance here, because I'm hungry, I'm motivated, and I want to capitalize on all of these opportunities that are coming organically through obviously your line of work, dude. That is freaking awesome.
And the persistence portion of it
Yes.
is really important too. I mean, a lot of people in the industry are outgoing, but not everybody. And I think somebody who's not willing to just put themselves out there time and time and time again, they struggle to actually get the guidance that you now are able to get. And I'll also say from our end, like Jason had mentioned, like, hey, this dude has been hammering me to get something going. Like, please do whatever you can to get a deal with this guy, right? And that's when I said, hey, the first house I had talked to you about, I think, was over by Belmont Country Club.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And then I'm trying to think, how many houses did you and I analyze before this one on Santa Fe that we'll talk about?
So I think I sent over just like straight up addresses and contact information for maybe like 6 properties, maybe. I don't know.
I
how
can
many.
count at least 5, and then the one that we did, which would be 6.
Yeah, which reminds me, there's one that we need to follow up on
Okay.
from a while back. But we went through several, before we actually even, got any momentum to the deal we actually closed. But it was me just being like, hey, look, I actually, a lot of those opportunities, for whatever reason, was just like, hey, I'm going to forego my opportunity to even do business with them in the junk removal space to try to convert this into a real estate opportunity. And I was literally willing to just give it away. I was just like, look, show me how the deal goes and you can freaking have it. Like I was at that point where I was just like, I don't care. I just want to learn.
Yeah, just show me how it's done.
For sure. That was my mentality.
Before this first deal, got locked up for you guys, how did your conversations after being connected with Scott, after being connected with Jason, can you talk a little bit about how your conversations with obviously these leads and these property owners that you were originally going for junk removal? Can you talk about how your conversations and your questions started to change on those first couple appointments before this first one got locked in?
Yeah, great question. So after, a couple conversations with Jason, a couple conversations with Scott, I kind of was just like coached into saying, we still want to do business on the junk removal side and kind of just making a more of a value proposition to the client in terms of like, we have options, we can, trash out this property for you for X amount of dollars. And then I started to guide the conversation, towards another opportunity. But where I led in with was I would always ask like some qualifying questions about, what their plans were for the property. And it was always because I was getting eyes on them, reading body language, and just kind of like picking up on cues and keywords that they would say. If they said something like their tenants, like not everyone is always coming to a trash out company, a junk removal company, and like blurting out that this is a rental property or an Airbnb or, someone just got evicted or, they're just, hey, I need this stuff out. How much is it going to cost? So I would ask a lot of questions, to try to find out their motivation for calling us in the first place and why are we trashing it out. And then from there, when I saw opportunities, it was just like a natural conversation that I would guide towards, finding out where they really stood with the property, what their plans were for it. And when I would find out that, it was a potential, thing that they just wanted to get off their hands, that's when I would start to transition the conversation towards, I have some partners that do buy houses. I always actually would play this rookie card because I just playing into naturally what I am as a rookie and then say, hey, I don't know all the numbers and I don't know everything about what this property could be worth, but I have some friends that really, would know and they could help out with this. And I know they buy cash and we could do this really hassle free. So, if you are open to it, I can take some pictures, I can get some video over and just kind of pass your contact info along and you guys can kind of try to see if you can figure it out from there. And, if it works out, great. If not, we can still work together to take care of the property for you and trash it out.
Yeah, I think what the big thing would probably just be confidence.
Yeah.
You sometimes have to fake it a little bit till you make it.
For sure.
The cool thing is even in the last month, the change in demeanor has been pretty big. Like, just talking with you and seeing you were already hungry and now that you've gotten a little taste, you're much hungrier.
So hungry, bro.
And so it's like, now it's taking that verbiage about my friends and saying, hey, my wife and I buy properties, right? Because that's true. You have bought.
And that's how we got the deal.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this deal that we worked on. And that's, you've already assigned, we're going to be listing it probably in the next couple weeks. What did that first phone call look like? Where did it come from? Where was the lead source? Things like that.
Sure. So, in our junk removal business, we're doing a lot of the same, advertising that, real estate investors do. So pay-per-click advertising is kind of like one of our main, lead sources. So this one came in from that. It was a Google pay-per-click ad. So when she called in, she just said, hey, I've got this house and we've got a lot of junk. She didn't really even know how to describe it. She's just like, I have all this stuff. We got to get it cleaned out. We just had our tenant evicted on Friday and I want to get it cleaned out tomorrow. This was like, I think the call came in on a Sunday. So I was like, yes, we can absolutely get that taken care of for you. And because I was already motivated now to find a deal, I was like, I'm going to make sure that I'm on this job site so that I can interact with the actual owner. So once we get there, I bring my team out and I'm on site and I say, hey, here for the junk removal, make some casual conversation with her. And I already knew in the back of my head that she mentioned that she had just evicted a tenant. So we get to the property and the outside actually looks pretty solid. It doesn't look like, a super fixer upper, style house. We go inside and there's trash, strewn about the house, and it obviously has, some outdated stuff, but it's not like super torn up like you would imagine some of the things that we come across. So from there, I'm like, okay, we can definitely get this done for you. It wasn't actually a crazy big job. I think we ended up charging her, a few $1,000s to get the whole thing trashed out. And towards the end of our quote, before she was going to leave, she basically just gave us access to the property. She said, you guys can go ahead and take care of it. I'm going to take off. And, just let me know when you're all finished up. And then I just kind of let her know. I said, hey, you mentioned that, the tenant got evicted. This is obviously a rental property for you. Just out of curiosity, my wife and I are looking to start investing in real estate, and this kind of a property is something that we probably would be interested in. Would you have any interest in maybe selling it, for cash? And she said immediately, yeah, I would definitely consider that because we just had problems with these tenants, and I have other properties, and I probably would just like to, invest this money elsewhere. And so a light bulb went off immediately. And I said, okay, awesome. I'm just going to get some information while I'm here. We're going to take care of, cleaning up all the trash. And then I'm going to shoot some video. And then I'm going to talk to, some of my partners and see, what we can offer. And so she was like, okay, yeah, just give me a call later on today and we can talk about it. So she was very receptive to it. And I kind of let it in at the end after, agreeing to do business with her on the junk removal side. So that's how that ended up working out, was just basically asking her, if she was willing to sell the property. And that was as simple as it had to be.
So you complete the job, you go through, you take the walkthrough video, like we always tell people to do, take photos, grab the video. Is that when, are you calling up Scott immediately, sending all that stuff over, or what happens next?
Dude, we didn't even pick up a single piece of trash and Scott already knew about it. Like, I was like, as soon as she was gone, I was on the phone. I literally was, if anybody has a Ring camera on that street, I'm like pacing back and forth in front of the house on the sidewalk, calling him like, hey, look, this house, I asked him, I was like, can you come over here and look at the house now in person? And he was like, dude, I can't, I have this other stuff going on, but shoot all the video and let's take a look at it. So I was like, dude, I'm on it. So I shot the walkthrough video and we looked at the house together, and I'm like, here's the address, boom, boom. He looked at it, we kind of just like ran the numbers quick and dirty really quick. And he was like, yeah, I think this is something that we can buy. So we had already agreed to trash the property out. So I already knew I was going to get paid to clean it out regardless. So I was happy either way, but obviously I really wanted to get this deal locked in. So Scott knew about it as soon as I knew she was ready for a cash offer.
We had just lost out on a different deal.
We were so close.
And it had gotten to the point where it was like we had a verbal agreement, and then the lady kind of reneged on it last second and sold it to some kind of neighbor's family friend or something like that. So we had like 2 or 3 that were super close. And when we got this, it was like, okay, time is of the essence. This is it. We're making it happen.
And what's going through your head primarily when you say you wanted to lock in a deal? In your mind, were you wanting to do a joint venture and flip it? Were you wanting to wholesale and assign it? Were you wanting to pick up another rental, or any or all of the above, depending on how the numbers penciled out? When, some of these, you're going on these appointments trying to convert, some of these obviously after the junk removal. Did you have a primary exit strategy in mind for trying to lock in a deal?
Yeah. So my primary, goal with these properties has been both to either have a wholesale or a flip opportunity. And I've been open to both, the entire way. I'm not really interested in acquiring like a rental right now. I do want to try to start building up some capital to eventually, do some paid marketing. So wholesale was the most appealing, nice. But I was also open to taking down the flip together too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then after your conversation with me, we talked about pricing, we talked about where we would need to end up. Had you talked price with her at that point?
No, I didn't mention anything about price in the initial in-person conversation, just that we would take a look at the property and see what we could offer for it. And the one thing I think maybe I could have done better there was asking her ahead of time what she would have, been wanting for the property. But I was trying to keep it as like, cool and cordial as possible with her at that time. And then from there, once we actually took a look at the property, offering her a number.
Yeah. For the benefit of the listeners, and just a quick reminder for you, I think the best thing you can do on that initial conversation is discover motivation, which you did. Get a timeline, which in your case, you knew it was pretty quick because of the initial phone call being like, get out here tomorrow type thing.
Right.
Condition, which you got the opportunity of being at the house, so you understood condition. The last pillar would be price.
Right.
And I think a way that you could have asked it that would have been pretty easy would have been, hey, you own a lot of property. You've owned this house. Without me going and looking yet at these numbers, I'm just curious, like, what price were you thinking would be a fair number if you were to sell it? She may not give you a price. If she doesn't, then you could say, hey, do you know what stuff in the area is selling for by chance? And at least getting kind of her understanding of what the market was doing before leading in with any kind of offer.
100%. So that was like a takeaway for me. I was like, that was one step that I could have taken to like get a little bit more of a feel for where she was at. So anything in the future now, I'm always going to make sure I can try to, see where they're at with pricing beforehand.
Yeah. So what happens next? You connect with Scott. He sees the video. You guys, talk shop, narrow in kind of a good range. Obviously the homeowner was like, hey, give me a call later this afternoon and we talk about it. Do you end up giving her a call that afternoon?
Yeah. So one thing to circle back on in that first conversation in person with her, I did end it by asking her, if we do come to an agreement on price, how soon are you looking to sell it? And she literally said tomorrow. So I was like, okay, we're going to make this happen because, like Scott said, we were so close on the previous deal and it was crushing. And I was like, I'm going to make something happen now. So I was super motivated. So when I asked her, when would you like to actually sell the house? And she was like, as soon as possible. I was like, okay, we're going to make something happen. Yeah.
So how does that phone call go when you give her a call later that afternoon?
So after talking to Scott and we come up with an offer, I think we came up with, was it 250, right? We were going to offer 250. So I call her and I actually don't talk about buying the house. I collect payment for the job and she's more than happy to pay us for that we already agreed upon. Let her know it's clean. She said, actually dropped by the property already. You guys did a great job. It's all cleaned up. It looks great. Thank you. She pays for the service. And then I said, hey, by the way, we did take a look at the property, and we would like to purchase it. We've come up with our numbers here, taking a look at some other stuff that's sold in the area. We can pay $250 for it. And, if you want to close soon, we can definitely do that as well. And she was like, okay. She didn't go reeling away. She was like, okay, let me just talk to my husband really quick about it and I will call you back. I said, all right, cool. So that already got me kind of like excited. I'm like, well, she didn't completely like, cuss me out and hang up on me or anything. She was like, okay, let me consider it. I called Scott right away. I was like, look, like she was pretty receptive to 250. Like, I think we're going to be able to get somewhere. So we already started talking like, if she comes back at some other number, like, how high are we really going to want to go on this? And what are we thinking? And it wasn't even 30 minutes. It was literally like 30 minutes later. She calls back.
This was also a little bit later in the evening,
this
right?
It was like 5 or 6
5
p.m.
or 6 p.m.
Yeah. And so she calls me back like 30 minutes later and she's like, so we would like to sell the house. We just want a net 260 for the house once everything's said and done. So we want a net 260 on the sale. And I said, okay. I said, I will have to go and, talk to my partner about it. But if I can get you 260, how soon would you want to sign for it? And she was just like, we could do it tonight. We could do it tomorrow. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me get back to you. I'll be back with you pretty soon. So called Scott up and I was like, she wants a net 260 on it. So I think we kind of were like, not going to do that, but let's see where we can kind of meet her. So at that point, that's when Scott was like, let's get on, a 3-way call with her so that I can talk to her and see if we can get this thing to the finish line. And Scott waves his magic wand on that phone call, and
Dude, I was at Save Mart. I was literally
You told me.
Savage.
I remember.
I was at Safe Mart and I'm walking around and Jacob called me and I was like, I talked to Jason about this deal and Jason was like, look, man, this is not a dig on Jacob. He was like, but maybe jump on the call and close the deal so that Jacob sees how you close it, because he's getting these to the finish line, but then we're not quite getting them at the right price, or that we're not getting the seller to sign. So maybe there's something right there. Like, you've gotten this all the way up to this last conversation. Come in and close it real quick. So there's a contract, right? And that call was funny because it kind of took a couple of attempts to get the three-way call to work. Because first you were on the phone with me. I said, let's do a three-way call. You call her. She doesn't answer. Okay, I'm going to go to the grocery store real quick.
Yeah.
I go to the grocery store. I get a call from Jacob as I parked. And I answer, and he's like, hey, dude, I got her on the other line. Can we talk right now? And I was like, let's just do it. Merges the call. I meet the seller. We have a super cordial conversation. And turned out like she knew my grandma, like they were at the same country club or something. And, just talking with her, I just said, hey, Jacob and I understand that you want to make as much as you can. We've tried to do what we can to get our price as high as possible, right? There's not tens of thousands of dollars here to wiggle with. But, if we're $10,000 off, I'm willing to play ball and see if there's a solution here. Like, if I'm being honest, I'm just going to jump to my highest number. The highest I could realistically pay for this house is $253,000. And she kind of sat there for a second, and then she was like, okay, that works. And immediately I had, I always forget the term. Is it buyer's purse?
remorse.
No, that's seller's remorse would be the other. It's where you feel bad, like I could have offered less. Mm-hmm. But essentially, she was like, yeah, that works. And I was like, okay, like Jacob and I will be by your house tomorrow, whatever time. Which house do you want to meet at? This house over on Santa Fe, your personal residence? Do you want to come to my office? She was like, oh yeah, come to our house. Like, that's fine. Mm-hmm. And so the next day we went over there, and I mean, we signed it, and it, like, you got a photo with her. She was super happy, super grateful. Talk about kind of once it was signed, how long did it take us to close? It wasn't long.
It was like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
I think it was like 14 days.
And break down the conversation that you and I had about if you were going to wholesale it or joint venture on it.
Yeah, for sure. So it was cool to go, to the house and actually see, the contract getting signed. And, Scott made it really clear to her that he was just kind of helping me out because he's got the experience. But the deal was, between her and I. So she was super receptive to everything. I don't think it could have been any better. It was really kind of picture perfect there. So once we finished that up, Scott and I had a conversation about what we were going to do, with the property, and kind of just basically presented me two options. It's like, hey, look, you can become a partner on the flip, or you can wholesale it to, Jason and just, let him take down the flip and you can get paid up front.
I want to clarify too on the flip. I said,
Sure.
hey, if you do the wholesale side, we'll
Right.
still show you everything like you were a partner, but you'll have no risk.
Exactly. So it was a win-win option for me either way, because basically pulling back the curtain on the flip and saying, you're still going to see everything that we do so that you can learn as if you were a partner on the flip. It's not taking you out of the deal at all. It's just like, hey, this is what we do, and you can see all of it, but you can be protected from the downside of if this goes wrong, if we were wrong on our numbers, or if the market shifts or anything like that, you're already securing your profit on that. So I totally agreed with it, and I was like, and the main thing was like to have a good experience doing this for the first time together. And it's like, let's just make sure that you get paid and have a good experience here and still see the entire process as if you were, flipping the property. So I couldn't be happier with the way it went.
So awesome. You went with option one. Hey, I'm going to assign it to you guys up front, but still being pumped to be along with the process from start to finish, A to Z, still being involved in the deal, but taking the payday up front.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, that's that. And I think that was super awesome.
And I think the margins are about the same.
Yeah.
And frankly, now that we're in the flip, the remodel cost ended up being a little more. Talking about speed bumps in the deal, some of the stucco was in such bad shape that our contractor was like, we need to redo the stucco and paint on the outside, which we weren't really planning on because Jacob said it at the start. This house doesn't look like it needs a ton. And And so even Jason and I were disagreeing on the rehab cost. I was saying it was more. He was saying it was less. And then on the fixed up value, I was saying it was less and Jason was saying it was more. And so I just told Jacob in clear terms, like, this is what the disagreement Jason and I have, and this is your option. You can either wholesale it to us for, what was it, $12,000?
$12,000, yeah.
Which was like kind of the approximation of what half would be on the flip. Or you can flip it with us. And I said, if it was me, I'd want to get paid sooner, still have the opportunity to see everything, and have the money up front to start marketing for another deal. But at the same time, if Jason's right on all this, you could make more potentially and go through the flip. And, like I said, the rehab cost ended up being pretty damn close to what you and I had talked about it being.
Yeah.
It was 42,000.
42.
And you and I had talked about like 40, 45. And I think Jason was budgeting more like 30. And then we haven't gotten to the listing. So we'll have to just see. The market's definitely not changed significantly for the better or for the worse. But, it backs up to the railroad track. It's a smaller house. There's things to like about the home. So it's hard to believe that it's not going to sell. But what it will sell for will change.
Dude, so where's your head at now? I mean, you get your 12K assignment. You're going to be along the entire way for the flip. Where's your freaking head at now, dude? What's next?
Dude, so obviously from making the decision to take, the wholesale deal up front, it was also for me to get proof of concept and light that fire even sooner, because I knew there's a potential upside if I actually, partner the flip, but I want the proof of concept more than the money. I want to get the switch actually physically flipped in my head to where I'm like, I've now completed a deal. I've done a transaction in investing, and I've actually gotten paid for it. And that concept itself was the most powerful thing for me. So you're asking where my head's at right now. I'm so hungry to find another deal now, because I saw literally how easy it can go. And I know that's not how it normally is, but I was like, but this is a possibility. This is something that I can continue to do and build upon and keep growing. So I'm just completely immersing myself in all the education I can find. And I'm just hungry, dude. I'm just going for everything now.
How are you talking to sellers now? Do you feel like your confidence is higher when talking about the potential cash purchase, or have you had opportunities where it made sense?
Yeah, 100%. On the confidence aspect of it too. The first, meetup locally that I went to was at the brewery. And it was a whole different experience going to the second one in Visalia after having done the deal with you guys. And I was like, that confidence level, I was able to network and speak with so many more people with a different level of confidence, because I have done something now. And even if it was way less than maybe a lot of other people, I was like, I've done something now. I have some value to add. I have, some experience in this game now, and I actually feel, a part of it now. And so that confidence switch for me too was huge, bro. Huge. I can just carry myself differently now. And I'm like, okay, I understand the concept. I've gotten paid for, doing work in this field, and, I just want to continue to do it. So yeah, the confidence thing it was clutch.
And what's your plan? Obviously, on this first deal, you now have, $12,000 that can be poured into several different buckets, depending on, again, kind of where your head's at, what you want to double down on, how you want to be able to find more leads and convert on more deals, right? Because you'll always have this organic avenue through your junk removal business, right? And that confidence and your verbiage and your education and the way you talk to sellers, that is always going to be an avenue. And now, like you said, with this confidence, just the amount of opportunities that are converted from that is going to go up, right? But now, where's your head at? Are you wanting to invest into any other marketing channels specifically for real estate investing, or kind of where are you at now?
Oh yeah. So, for me personally, I'm not really a gambler, but I'm also not afraid to spend money. I've learned that from my core business, that you really have to spend money in order to make money. And I've seen it come back, threefold, fourfold, fivefold. Anytime that I'm spending, ad money, I'm looking for the return, and I'm already used to measuring it. We're tracking KPIs in our company. So I know that all will convert over to the real estate side of things. So I was like, I got 12K. I don't need this money. I want to just throw it into, trying to find more deals. So I had a conversation with Jason like literally a few days ago, and he had to pull the throttle back for me because I was like, what do I do? Like paid marketing, which one should I choose? Like, let's go. And, he really kind of just like advised me to continue to try to bridge the skill gap of talking to sellers so that when I do, flip that switch and turn on paid marketing, whatever avenue I decide to go with, that I have the ability to convert more of them more often. So what I'm working on right now between, I would say now and maybe the end of January, maybe some mid-February, is just closing the skill gap of talking to sellers and just getting in more reps through the organic leads, and then anything else I can grind out for free or for low cost. And then at that point, I plan to use the money to put it into paid marketing. It could be various things. I mean, one thing I have my eye on that I know you guys are kind of coaching people on is like the direct mail. So I know that it's costly, but I know that, the leads are a lot more quality if they're, inbound. So I gotta make sure that I put in the work to close up that skill gap of talking to sellers and being able to be confident in making offers and stuff like that. And then from there, I'm all in with paid marketing too.
Well, dude, it is so sick that we already got a deal done. Yeah. Remember at that lunch we said we're gonna get a deal before the end of the year?
I believed it, bro. I believed it.
And there's a reason it worked. A lot of the guys listening to this podcast are girls. They're first-time investors. They haven't done a deal yet. They're just really interested. They may be stuck in the education phase. What's your recommendation if they want to try to kind of redo the results that you just had?
So I talk about this as much as I can on the little bit of content that I put out on my Instagram, which is just putting one foot in front of the other, just taking action, even if it's imperfect action, because it's going to be imperfect action, but just doing something. The analysis paralysis that we all can kind of get caught up in, and like consuming so much content online, podcasts, YouTube videos, TikToks, everything. People are just shoving all these different ideas and everything you can do in real estate, and just like picking two maybe, and then just putting one foot in front of the other, taking steps, putting yourself out there and getting uncomfortable, because I think that's the main thing that a lot of people don't like to do is just get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Once you venture out of that comfort zone of yours, that's when you experience the growth. That's when you experience like, okay, this isn't so bad, right? And what other people think or say doesn't really matter. And I want to grow and I want to get better and I want to get more confident and I want to, build my skills. And so I would say to anybody listening that would try to replicate anything that I did is just put yourself out there, talk to people that have come before you, that have already beaten this path down, and just follow them and put yourself in positions where, you can learn from other people.
Well, dude, and in addition to those people, we also have people listening who may have a few deals under their belt, or even we've got people listening who are seasoned investors. Obviously, with you owning a junk removal company, investors are always in need of that stuff, man. Sure. So, and you mentioned content. Where can people reach out to you for whatever needs that they have on social? Yeah,
so our company, Top Junk, is on Instagram at TopJunk559. And my personal Instagram is Jacob__5.0. So that's my personal, page that I put a lot of just random content on. And then our business page is TopJunk559.
Boom.
Well, dude, Jacob, thank you for coming on. I'm excited. We've definitely got more deals coming down the pike.
100%.
We're going to get you on a JV on the next one. I think the wholesale was fun. Good first experience. But let's ruffle your feathers a little, get you in the flipping experience and seeing how road bumps can affect stuff. But dude, cool to have you on the pod. You remind me a ton of Miguel Sanchez, who was on our last podcast. And so it's cool. We're starting to see kind of who these people are, getting a better read on, especially you medical people. You guys are grinders, man. Mm-hmm. But you definitely connect with these guys. If listeners are listening right now, Jacob is super outgoing and super willing to share his knowledge. So definitely give him a follow. He's constantly posting. And Jacob, on the next deal, we'll have to bring you back.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Dude, appreciate you, man.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.